So for the third time, the Conservatives' attempts to bring down the Liberal government failed. This time, they tried to use the NDP leader's words against him in a way to try to convince him to vote for this motion. But that effort was not successful. Only the Bloc backed it. We saw the NDP vote against this motion, helping prop up the Liberal government yet again. And at this point, Sandy, they are the only opposition party in the House of Commons to still be backing the Liberals.
And just when you thought Jagmeet couldn't be this stupid, he goes and he proves us otherwise. Now, after question period today in the House of Commons, there was two motions put forward that needed to be voted on. And the first motion was the Conservative motion to have no confidence in the Liberal government to potentially spark an early election. We all know this was coming, but this one was a little bit different, as the two previous votes of non-confidence from the Conservatives were based on the carbon tax aspect. This one, however, they used the NDP, especially Jagmeet Singh, his talking points about how the Liberal government's too weak, too beholden to corporate greed, how they don't care about the middle class and the working individuals or seniors or disabled people. And the Conservatives said, we agree. We don't have confidence in the government for this. So how about we put this into a vote and you guys support it? Because this is what Jagmeet said after all. Well, to no surprise, Jagmeet actually voted against this, and this was the aftermath of that.
Mr. Julian.
Mr. Julian.
Miss Matheson.
Ms. Matheson.
Order. Order.
Mr. Johns.
Mr. Johns.
Miss McPherson.
Ms. McPherson.
Miss Idlout.
Ms. Idlout.
Miss Gazan.
Ms. Gazan.
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green.
Mr. McGregor.
Mr. McGregor.
Mr. Backrack.
Mr. Backrack.
Miss Blaney.
Miss Blaney.
Madame Hughes.
Madame Hughes.
Mr. Boulris.
Monsieur Boulris.
Mr. Angus.
Mr. Angus.
Miss Zarillo.
Ms. Zarillo.
Miss Kwan.
Ms. Kwan.
Miss May Sanders Gulf Islands.
Ms. May Sanders Gulf Islands.
Mr. Morris.
Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Because of the noise, I could not hear if my vote was cast, so I would like to confirm that it was called and voted. I vote nay.
Indeed, it was called and cast. Le Bureau.
The table will now compile the results of the vote.
Yeas pour 152, 152. Nays contre 180, 180.
I declare the motion defeated.
Now, if you were paying attention to that clip, you would notice that Jagmeet actually wasn't in the House for the vote. He did it electronically. But just before this vote, question period happened, and Jagmeet was sitting in for question period. So he chose to get up, leave, do the vote electronically, and then right after that, re-entered the House, because now the NDP had their motion put forward that they needed their own votes for, which was to extend the $250 check that Trudeau's talking about to seniors, disabled people, people who really need it, as Jagmeet put. And he was there for that vote. Now, Pierre Poilievre called him out on this, and this is how that went.
Leader of the Opposition is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, you went out of your way before the vote to point out that members are not allowed to come and go during the vote. I did note that the NDP leader came in right in the middle of the vote, having missed the fact that the vote was on his own words. Would you please call him to order for having had his team vote against his own words?
I see that the honourable member from New Westminster Burnaby is also rising on his feet.
It's a bit rich for the hypocrisy we've seen from the Leader of the Official Opposition, but as you know, Mr. Speaker, in virtual Parliament you have the right to vote remotely and come in for a second vote. That is indeed what has happened in this case.
So indeed, I would say that the fault is mine as Speaker for not making it clear for the purposes of electronic voting. There is a possibility, as all members know, and members have from time to time exercised that privilege, is that they're able to come in when with this advent of electronic voting.
Now, this is where Jagmeet really thinks that Canadians are stupid, because right after his vote being crushed, nobody else voted for it but the NDP. He came out and had a little bit of a press conference complaining about this, saying no other party supported this. and that he wanted people to know that when he becomes prime minister, fat chance of that, he's going to be fighting for you, yada yada yada. After this little spiel and taking questions, somebody asked him how come he wasn't there, and he said he went out for a meeting. How fast was this meeting when you were there for question period, skipped out just before the vote, and then had time to re-enter for the next vote, which happened right after the vote you stepped out on?
So nearly every other party in the chamber right now voted against giving the working class a permanent tax cut. It's ludicrous. In addition, they also voted against a senior getting that check. They voted against people living with disabilities getting that check. They voted against a single mom taking care of her kids that had to make sacrifices, not getting a check. That's what they voted for. They voted for them not getting a check. I think it's clear that Canadians need someone who's going to fight for them, who's going to fight for tax cuts for the working class, not for billionaires. That's why I'm running for Prime Minister, because it's clear the Conservatives are bootlickers for billionaires. If there's a tax cut that doesn't help billionaires, they're not in it. And the Liberals continue to let people down.
You made a point of saying that you weren't in the chamber during the recorded vote for their non-confidence motion that quotes you quite extensively. Was there a reason you weren't in the chamber for that particular vote?
I had a meeting and I voted outside of the chambers, and I came in for the vote on our motion.
Come on, man. Who are you trying to kid here? You were just too embarrassed to show your face on camera voting against the things that you yourself have said. You've been very clear about how you feel about the Liberal government, yet you then go and voted against a vote of no confidence to keep them in. And when the reporters questioned him on this, he said, "Oh, I'm not going to be playing these games with the Conservatives. I'm voting for people and people's pensions."
Listen, the Conservatives, it should come as no surprise that we're not going to vote in favor of any of their games, because that's what they're doing. They're playing games. What they want to do is cut your pensions. They want to cut your health care. I want to strengthen pensions. I want to make it easier for you to find a doctor. They want to cut the things that you need and make your life even harder and make it cost more. That is what Conservatives do. That is what they did when they were in power. We're opposed to that. So obviously we're not going to play their games. I'm not going to support a Conservative motion that plays games like that. We're going to keep on fighting for Canadians.
Well, Jagmeet, we all know that that's a load of crap because you're only thinking about your pension. For the past few months, you've been going on and on about how you ripped up the agreement and that you weren't going to support the Liberals if they did A, B, and C. Guess what? They've done A, B, and C, and you're still keeping them in power. And then you put forward a motion, and guess what? They vote against it. So you're still losing. You're keeping the government propped up. They're not even supporting you. And this is the same thing that happened with everything that you got for Canadians, the dental, the healthcare. All of these things that you claim that you have forced the government to do were all like half-assed. You got portions of what you actually wanted. And now you put forward this bill and you don't even get that. It's extremely pathetic and proves the point that all you care about is your pension. You're going to ride it out until February. Come February, that's when you're probably going to change your tune and maybe vote for an early election. But until then, you're not doing anything. And actually, with this vote of non-confidence being turned down, there actually isn't going to be another one, I believe they said, until next year.
Question number 2, implications of the defeated NDP GST motion. Will the party try again, or is that it?
Yeah, so the NDP were pushing for the GST break to be expanded and the eligibility for the checks to be expanded as well. But it was resoundingly rejected. Pretty much everyone else in the House of Commons, other than the NDP, voted against it. So I think that is a clear sign to businesses getting this GST thing rolling and to Canadians waiting for those checks. If they're expecting more, don't expect that under the current political dynamics. And to your question, Sandy, of whether they can do this again, not this year. This was the only NDP opposition motion of the fall sitting, meaning that if they want to try again or push the government in another way, it will have to be in 2025.
And on top of that, come next Tuesday, December 17th, the House will no longer be sitting until I believe it's late January, if not early February, which is very close to Jagmeet's pension. So if you're an NDP voter and you still think this guy has your best interests at heart, think again. He's only in it for his pension. But as always, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think about this whole fiasco that happened today? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.